Um, Kind of a mix of bad news and good news today. Bad news is Elena Haba got fired. The bad news is the woman the judges voted in, they fired her too. Because you can't have anybody but Trump's people in the government anymore because they're doing the full Ceausescu. Okay, so that was bad news. The other bad news is apparently Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, the holier than thou, holy roller, theocratic nationalist who's all about family values and protecting the children. He's apparently okay with children being fucked by Jeffrey Epstein and his friends. Okay. They just adjourned the House to avoid talking about Epstein. Where do you go with that? Where do you go with that? Okay, we're going to have a nationwide war on drugs. We are literally going to shoot up our own neighborhoods because somebody's personal habit you don't like. We're going to kill Breonna Taylor in her sleep, amongst thousands of other problems. We're going to invade America with ICE agents. But when it comes to the wealthy fucking children, hey, let's adjourn the House for 7 weeks. There's nothing to see here. Let's all go home. Let's all go meet with our wealthy campaign donors because they're the ones that matter, not the kids that were fucked on Epstein Island. Okay, raped. Okay, a minor cannot consent. As a former sexual crimes investigator in the Army and in civilian life, let me inform you, children cannot consent to sexual activity, nor can they unless they've been emancipated, enter a contract. Okay, that's why kids can't get married. Marriage is a contract. I already spoke about marriage being a contract before. So, Mike Johnson, the guy who's literally put his faith out on his sleeve and told you how much that you're a piece of shit because you are not a good Christian enough to be Mike Johnson. He's against porn, even adult porn, 2 adult people fucking with a camera on. He's against that. He wants it to be a crime to produce, transmit, or view pornography, adult pornography. But apparently, and we all know the names, everybody from Bubba Clinton, Prince Andrew, who we know is a scumbag. He was a scumbag 30 years ago. How far back Prince Andrew goes, with dick problems. He was the guy that got caught in the Caribbean. I think it was Antigua with the Cinemax soft porn star from the old cable TV late night sex movies. Titty movies, basically. I mean, they're not the hardcore porn. You could just dial up, at Pornhub or, YouPorn, what was the one? X Hamster. That's one of the ones I use because we have blocked my clients because, they don't allow, because of the nature of the business, you don't allow pornography through your internet connections. X Hamster is the one I completely test. Pornhub and X Hamster is the ones I test to make sure the firewall rule about blocking porn still works on site. So they, the porn is the bad thing. Porn needs to be criminalized. But what does not need to be criminalized is someone like Prince Andrew, Donald Trump, Jeffrey Epstein, Dear Leader, and their rich friends fucking little girls. You know what this is a repeat of? The Catholic Church. Well, they only fucked a few kids in the ass. So all good, right? And it wasn't just the Archdiocese in Boston with the horror stories with hundreds of victims. Look at Australia with Cardinal Pell. Tim Minchin wrote a fucking song about him and dared him, literally sang in the song, daring him to come home to Australia and sue him for the libel because the Cardinal fled Australia to avoid prosecution. And then when people said, "Hey, you're fleeing the country to avoid prosecution," oh, I'm gonna sue you for libel and slander. Well, you got to come home to do that. And if you come home to Australia, you're going to end up in a jail in a courtroom. And you're going to be a little too busy to sue little old us, you know? So, yeah, this is the Catholic Church again. As long as there's some power and authority and control involved in the usually men, but this in the Epstein story, it wasn't just men. Always remember that one. Um, but in the Catholic Church, yeah, it was 99.999% men. A few nuns were involved in some of the stories I read back in the day, but yeah, we're talking almost all the time it was men. And as long as they even just represent a power, of authority, a system of control, they're allowed to butt fuck as many little boys as they want. Okay. Now, according to Mike Johnson, the pious twat of America, bar none. He is worse than the televangelist. He's worse than Jim fucking Baker. Worse than the Franklin Graham and his entire family. Because you know what Franklin Graham and his entire family are? Just a politicized version on the national stage of the old concerned citizens councils. The suit and tie KKK. Just an extension of it. So they're completely okay. And what really bugs me about the Mike Johnson thing is how it dovetails into the other thing that when I found out it was true the other day, I blew a gasket. There is literally a convicted felon, an ex-con, now running the Bureau of Prisons under dear leader porn star Humper. Doesn't this make all sense? Why not have a drug dealer who's been convicted by a jury and sentenced by an Article 3 judge? Why not give him a pardon, then appoint him to run the prison system? Why not? What the fuck? The absurdity here is so bad. It's ridiculous. An ex-con is the number 2 guy in the Department of Federal Prisons, the Federal Prison Bureau. Okay? Now, I'm going to talk about this a little later. Somewhere here in my notes, I made a reference to how this is all going North Korea, where I didn't think it was going to go, but I'll explain that in a few. But yeah, we're amalgamating whatever we need as far as religion, fraud, voodoo, criminal conspiracy, mafioso, gun running, drug dealing, financial and crypto schemes. We're doing it. This is it. The country they used to call America. And what's dangerous when you have, pious hypocrites and ex-cons running your system and fraudsters and sycophants and rubes and then total idiots. The people who are criminally smart, the crypto bros, they're not idiots. They're still fucking criminals, but they're not idiots. Okay. Crypto now wholly owns dear leader porn star Humper, his cabinet, and all his advisors. And the con is on. This is a declared war against the Treasury. Okay. Um, they're basically doing what BRICS is trying to do. Brasilia, Russia, China, India, some other bunch of assholes. BRICS ridiculously thinks they can de-seat the dollar and then just promote their horse shit. Okay. Not as big of a horse shit as crypto, Bitcoin, NFTs, but pretty much their claim is bullshit. At least they have sovereign currencies behind it. That crypto doesn't even have that. Crypto is a stupid looking monkey. How the fuck is that worth $1 million? But this is being bricked from the inside. The call is coming from inside the house. That's what I'm saying. They're declaring war on the dollar. Okay. And I told you why before. They don't care what they run into the ground. Property values, the markets, gold, whatever gets destroyed, as long as they're still on top after the barn burns, we good. And the whole throwing money at crypto is frankly a joke, and it's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy of the tech oligarchs we already know, with the adversarial governments we already know. Okay, India is not adversarial, but they are nationalist, and they will become adversarial through their Modi nationalism. Modi is just as big as a problem as Z or Nigel Farage or Trump or Bolsonaro or Orban or Putin. He's the same problem. Hell, I'm voting. I'm rooting for the Pope right now. That's how bad the other leaders are. I'm pro Pope Leo. Did you see him with the Irish president jumping off the standard to greet him, and because he's done double canes, he doesn't move too fast. He's 84. Oh yeah, really respectful. Goes down there, gives him a big hug. I'm sure the Irish president is Catholic. Most of the Republic is Catholic. If they're religious, they're mostly Catholic. If they're not religious, they're atheist, complete atheist. Because what the Catholic Church did to Ireland, that's a whole other video or a whole other essay. When you say crypto is a thing and it should be, well, how are they euphemizing it? Balanced against the dollar. Gold is a balance against the dollar. Silver, platinum, high quality copper, high quality nickel. Okay, tangible things that you can turn into cash. Like I have platinum bars and platinum coins in a vault. Okay, obviously not here because I'm not an idiot. Okay, why do I keep platinum and why do I keep silver? Okay, it's not the numismatic value of the Canadian coins that are printed in a platinum stamp. It's the actual underlying value of platinum itself. Platinum is a seriously useful industrial metal. Okay, catalytic converters. What do you think the inside of a catalytic converter is lined with? Atomized, thin layers of platinum. The catalyst in a catalytic converter is platinum. Okay, so if the economy would go to shit and I needed money, I could literally walk up to a precursor manufacturer, the people who make the coatings that go onto the catalytic converter, because I'm sure, with a modern supply chain, one person makes the actual chamber, which is the converter. The other people make the pipes that connect it, and then somebody makes the coatings that go inside of it. I could go to the coating company and hand them, 2 bars of platinum, 10 grams of platinum, and I go, "How much will you give me?" And the guy, "Well, I'll give you a spot price right here on the desk, and I'll give you cash because we need this shit." Okay. It's a tangible asset that does real things in the real world. That's the opposite of fucking crypto. Crypto is monopoly money without Parker Brothers. Get it? It's an empty shell that the only thing it has in there is the wishful thoughts of the seller and the willingness to be defrauded by the buyer. Okay. And you notice how the big companies who used to be all pro Bitcoin, they don't take Bitcoin anymore. Okay. And if you do support Bitcoin, realize you support gangs, you support criminal activity, you support national security threats against the United States. That's what Bitcoin does. Bitcoin is not an engine like gold or the dollar or the sterling pound. Okay. Or those platinum goose coins I just talked about. Okay. That's not what crypto fucking is, no matter how hard they sell it to you, how hard they pull the P.T. Barnum on you. That is not a tangible asset. It is a mythical penny stock with even less regulation. That's what a fucking Bitcoin is. Okay. Yeah, I own a lot of stocks. I own bonds. I own debenture notes. Okay. How many fucking Bitcoins do you think I own? 0. How many will I own in the future? 0. Okay. How much of my retirement is put into bullshit that doesn't mean anything in the real economy? 0. Okay. I don't hold mythical bullshit in my portfolio. I hold debenture notes from Corning. The people who make fucking everything in ceramics and glass, everything from the screen on your mobile phone to the fiber optic wire that carries the signal to your computers in your house. Oh, and plus a bunch of your cookware and a bunch of glass and automotive and a whole bunch of other stuff. Yeah, I own debenture notes. Those are real. Okay, I can sell them to somebody and they have actual identifiable value. Okay, and my owning a debenture note in Corning, or owning stock in Johnson and Johnson. Okay, I'm not supporting North Korea. You buy Bitcoin? Oh, you most def supporting North Korea. Okay, and you're supporting frauds all over. The go watch CoffeeZilla on YouTube. The same con group, the same bunch of little punk ass street gang criminals who did Libra in the main coin for Mili in Argentina, which was a $100 million rug pull, a planned criminal fraud, are the same guys with the same keys at the bottom of the ledger for dollar sign millennia. Coincidence? No, no, not at all. Um, to offer treasury backing to crypto is a criminal fraud in itself. Okay. The only reason they want the government money in crypto is to create a ballooning asset value of the crypto so they can cash out first. Okay. Crypto is a last man standing. Buying a house is not last man standing. Even if you get a bad deal in a house, at the end, you still got a house. You still have the value of the components which make up the house: the wood in the walls, the copper wire, okay, the windows, the appliances, everything is real value. Okay, you don't have that with crypto. It's a joke. Um, Oh, and who are the big supporters of this besides North Korea and the Mexican cartels, which politicians love to cry about. Oh, we got to go to war with Mexico, except we're going to do business with them on Bitcoin networks. Yeah, we're cool with that, but just we got to be at war with them, or we got to tell you we're going to be at war with them. Who else is people who got recently pardoned by Dear Leader Porn Star Humper? They're all about getting the treasury to dump money into crypto because you just funded their fraud. Now, everybody who's been pardoned in the financial crypto space, and another guy was just had his investigation completely dropped today. It never happened. Here's your equipment back. Here you go. Put up some more magic beans. Okay, sell them to Jack. Let's do it. That happened today. Okay, so the people who are being pardoned by Trump are in the inner circle of who is going to benefit from the fraudulent crypto shit that the Treasury is going to get involved in. You got to remember that Bitcoin has only been around since January 2009. Okay, it's already had losses well north of $100 billion. Okay, I guarantee you, if the banking system got robbed so often you were missing $100 billion, you'd have changes in the banking system. And you did. You notice there's bulletproof glass at most banks today. Okay, there's computer controlled or combination controlled locks to get access throughout the back end of the bank. Okay, the gates to the vault are special materials. Okay, they're very hard to cut. They're very hard to saw. And it takes time to get through them. That's the whole point. Vaults and safe are not. You can penetrate any safe, any vault if you want to spend enough time doing it. All safes are rated by the amount of time it takes to break into them. So there's $100 billion in fraud already, rug pulls and other fraud, and at least $3 billion of that. Just talk to them. The Lazarus Group out of North Korea. $3 billion of the fraud. Most of that in the United States, by the way. Okay, being ripped off by the North Korean government, which our government keeps emulating more and more and more. Let me put a little comparison this to you. Okay, 100 billion in rug pulls and fraud in crypto. Bernie Madoff was only $35 billion. And they threw his ass in jail for 178 years. Think about that for a second. A third of the crime occurs. Who did it happen to? It happened to very, very wealthy people, real estate developers, acting couples who are super famous, local celebrities. The rich, wealthy, and famous got ripped off by Bernie Madoff. $35 billion line. Let's throw his ass into jail for a century or so. Okay. $100 billion in crypto crime, in losses. Let's have the Treasury pump money into it. Can you imagine the Treasury pumping money into Bernie Madoff? I mean, I know we pumped money into like AIG and didn't let it fucking fail. And we didn't arrest people out of the bank bailouts. Yeah, I know that. Um, Ranted about that 1,000 times. But can you just imagine that a president just wakes up and goes, I am going to now put taxpayer money into Bernie Madoff because my friends, many of them who I've appointed or pardoned or have campaign donations from, um, they're invested with Bernie Madoff. That's what's going on right now with Bitcoin. That's happening. That's it. We're there. Okay. We've identified a felonious fraud with massive losses. And our answer is not to prosecute the losses. It's to have the Treasury invest in the losses so you can get the next round of victims. Why? Because the next round of victims isn't going to be Kevin Bacon and his wife, Cedric. They got burned to the ground by Bernie Madoff, lost everything. Luckily, she was on the TV show at the time and she had a steady paycheck. But everything else they had, they lost. Okay. That's not going to be the victims of crypto. It's the stonk kids. The ones who think riding a roller coaster in GameStop makes sense. A roller coaster, they and another party are both jacking off. Okay. Fools will be fools. When you get down to the end with Bitcoin, you have to remember it doesn't have any utility. A house has utility. A car has utility. As I said, a platinum coin has utility. There is no utility to Bitcoin other than to rip people off or do business with North Korea, Russia, gangsters, or the Mexican cartels. That's the only reason Bitcoin exists. Okay. And remember who got pardoned? The guy from Silk Road who ran a $250 million drug empire on the web using digital currencies, did it with the people Dear Leader claims to hate and wants to go to war with, and even hired people to get hit. Okay. Full unconditional pardon. Because he supports Bitcoin. We're going to take out the US dollar. And only the hipsters and the tech bros and the insiders. Remember when Bitcoin was supposed to be anti-government? Now the government is funding Bitcoin. You told us this was something separate. What are all the Bitcoins pegged to? That's right, the US dollar. Oh, that's right. Stablecoin. Oh, yeah. We're different. The government's lying to us. We have fiat currency. There's no gold standard. Money is fake. Bitcoin is real. Remember all that shit? Pepperidge Farms remembers. Um, oh, and I wrote the essay. I told you, what are you all gonna do when he goes full blown Idi Amin? Well, now he's doing Amin. He's doing the Kim family in North Korea, and he's even doing a little Ceausescu moves here. He is blending into anything he needs to be. And what he needs to be is someone not in prison. This is what it's always been about. He doesn't want to be in a jail cell. He knows he's a crook. And a court determined he was a rapist. And an unset release set of files may determine he's also a pedophile. Okay? This is what it's about. Staying out of jail. What is, I keep calling, I've been telling them, I'm not calling them, I'm telling you they're acting like in the real world a street gang. What is the biggest goal of a street gang member? Staying out of jail. Get it? Now, the child taunts, he has the entire cabinet doing it. All his appointees are doing it. His advisors are doing it. The same child, point your fingers, taunt. Oh, Obama committed a coup, sedition, criminal fraud, treason. I don't know how you do all of those at once. It's possible, but that's kind of hard. And I know where it comes from. Like after the insurrection. Oh, by the way, what happened in Washington, D.C. on January 6th was a coup attempt via an insurrection. Okay. I do believe there was foreign attempts at meddling with the election from Russia and North Korea and China and other places, possibly Iran. Nothing major, nothing that changed the outcomes or anything like that. But there was definitely influence campaigns, especially through social media, that try to influence the American voter. Okay. Um, when the, but I don't think the insurrection was treason, because treason involves in league with a foreign adversary, foreign enemy. And trust me, sedition is bad enough, because doing an insurrection, that's what you get charged with, is sedition. Taking up arms or declaring war against the United States from the inside, that's sedition. So everything that actually happened on January 6th that Trump planned, helped finance, encouraged, lobbied for, advertised, marketed, and even wanted to walk with the crowd to be the leader of the riot come insurrection. Okay, that's all been put out by the January 6th committee. Okay, it's not my opinion. It's what in the January 6th documents. So you just take the whole kit and caboodle, because if you just string a bunch of words together, the droolers in the red hats go, "Oh yeah, he did all those things. Yeah, he's guilty." And basically, then they go, the officials like Trump and his cabinet go, "Yeah, and he is guilty. We don't need a trial because we know he's guilty." Okay, now you're not talking about arrests and trials. Now you're talking about roundups and gulags. Okay, which were already there with deportations to CECOT and slave camps suggestions and a fucking gulag on American soil in Florida. Okay, so everything that we know Trump did, minus the treason. Okay, and I know a lot of liberals went, "Oh my God, Trump committed treason on January 6th." Dude, I have voraciously read about January 6th before, during, and after. Okay. As I said, even though there was influence in the election, there's no indication that they were directly in league, i.e., treason, with a foreign power or a foreign entity. Okay. And trust me, you all should know by this point how much I loathe this dumb bastard, dear leader Pornstar Humper. Okay. If there was any evidence for that, I'd tell you. Okay. There's just not. But again, sedition is a 20-year crime. Okay. Conspiracy against the United States government is also a serious crime. I think I'm on Kerry's 10 years. Okay, so that's two of the things that you could charge him with out of the dozens of things you could charge him and everybody around him with. That was 30 years of felonies to occur. Okay, so all they're doing is projection again. Look what Obama did. Obama did. Obama said that. Obama said that. Obama wrong. Wrong, Obama. He's black, so he's wrong. Except what they're accusing him of being wrong about, you know, the Soviet and Syrian hors du jour, Gabbard, uh, wants to criminally refer Obama and everybody that ever worked with him in legal or intelligence, okay, wants to refer them for criminal prosecutions, but they already know they're guilty, so there doesn't have to be a trial. Okay, so she's going to refer all of them to Pam Bondi for criminal prosecution, except there is a video that you can look up tonight or whenever you see this video, my video here. You can look up a video with Gabbard talking to the moron Joe Rogan. Okay. About what? About how Russia attempted to interfere with our election. And they did it through the tech bros social media sites. The tech bros who all are in league with Gabbard and Dear Leader now. Okay. So 2018, she said literally 100% the opposite of what she claimed just days ago in her need to criminally refer Obama and all of the people who he ever talked to in his administration to go face prison time or just get thrown in a gulag because they wrote an intelligence report I don't like. Yet Gabbard agreed with and explained in detail in 2018 on a live videotape. That's not the worst of it. In the first administration, there's also another videotape of Dear Leader porn star Humper sitting in the White House telling people, only I can protect you against Russian election interference and election meddling. Only I can secure the voting machines. Only I can make you safe in the voting rolls. It's all about me. I'm the only one who can save America from the Russian voting meddling threat. What did he say this week? The complete opposite. Okay, so this is why they're bringing up the gulags, no trials, because they know if they ever had to present the evidence at the prelim, the first two things, I fucking guarantee you could have Saul from Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, or somebody even worse. You could have the dumbest attorney who happened by chance to pass a state bar. The first two videos they're going to put up in Obama's or Comey's or Clapper or anybody else they want to go after, okay, the first thing they're going to show are those Gabbard on Joe Rogan and Dear Leader on Fox News in the Oval Office or somewhere in the White House. Okay, those are the first two videos they're going to show in court. Then the Article 3 judge is going to go, what the hell did you bring in my court, prosecutors? You're telling me they have evidence of exactly opposite of what you already said 7 years ago? There's no way. There is no way on planet Earth charges of this level of horseshit, of just political animus, get by even a preliminary hearing with any American judge that's worth their salt. Not including Beauvais, by the way, the guy that was just anointed without deliberation to the next stage of his nomination. Because all of Trump's personal lawyers have to be in the government to perform vendettas on behalf of Dear Leader. And Emil Beauvais is just the next in line to do it, just like Alana Haba and all the rest of the fucking jerk-offs. Oh, speaking of the dumbest lawyer, she wouldn't present. She was a defense attorney, Haba. She wouldn't present those two videos in the prelim. That would completely nullify the charges. That's how dumb this chick is. How she passed the state bar, I have no clue. She is an idiot beyond an idiot. And corrupt as fuck. Let me talk about one more thing, and I want to do 2 shout outs at the end of this, and we'll wrap it up here. I have a book recommendation for people who really want to get wonky and understand how the past relates to the current. Um, find a book on Amazon. And I think it's actually in PDF in a couple of places, or uh, Kindle or whatever. Um, the Cleanest Race. It's about North Korea, and everything in that book that North Korea is, um, North Korea. Not that we didn't, print the book on racism. Hey, chattel slavery. Um, Ever since the Kims took power, the grandpa on down to the current idiot in charge, um, they have indoctrinated people in racism and their superiority as North Koreans over every other living thing on planet Earth. Okay. Remember, grandpa was a living god. And then while he was dead, he was still the ruler for decades of North Korea. The official leader had died decades ago. He was still listed as, it was a necrocracy. They were being led by a dead guy. Why? Because the dead guy is a god. Okay. Who else believes in a crazy god? Mike Johnson. Who's racist? Well, most of the GOP right now. Okay. North Korea, they literally bake in racism when they're babies. They are taught every time they are taught they are superior race to the rest of planet Earth. The South Koreans are literally subhuman. The Americans are gorillas, and not just the black people. Okay. They are a super, super strong authoritarian racist society. But a lot of people mistook, and I made this mistake before reading this book and two others on North Korea, that North Korea isn't one thing. It's not a quote unquote Stalinist country. This is the parallel that draws to America today. North Korea is whatever the Kim family needs to make it. Okay. They, they will pull from anything: voodoo, necromancy, religion, Stalinism, mafioso, criminal hacking groups. We have the who are they, the furry hacking gang. Okay, imagine them, but no furry costumes and really angry. That's a subset cult within the government. Is their job is to defend North Korea by destroying and ripping off everybody else on planet Earth, and we're justified in doing this because we're the superior race. Does any of this sound familiar? Now, I'm not saying one taught it to the other or which way it went, and I'm not saying any of that, but I'm saying it's present now. You have an authoritarian system, okay, and this is true in Hungary with Orban, Putin in Russia, okay, the jerk off clown in El Salvador. The first thing they go to, is racism and xenophobia, because they know it's an easy trigger to control, to their control of society. They make you fearful of somebody who doesn't look like you or doesn't act like you. And then you tell them, oh, if you get to know them, you'll suffer. Okay, who does this? Cults. The Moonies did it. Scientology does it. Okay, the Mormons do it. Okay, you can't know anything on the outside world. They're all bad and evil, and they're all out to get you. Only I can save you. Sound familiar with Dear Leaders bullshit? So they're just an amalgamation of whatever they need to be in North Korea to impose power and control at any cost. And we're talking any cost. Like, in my lifetime, there have been famines, plural, in North Korea, where the food got so scarce, the North Korean troops would go to farm, murder the farmers, steal all their stuff so they could eat. I forgot where I saw this. It may have been a news real. Because they use the example of the South Korean versus the North Korean MPs at the DMZ and on the border of North Korea and South Korea. All the North Korean guys are tiny compared to the Americans and the South Korean because we eat protein, and generationally we have eaten protein. Okay, they don't. They're shrinking. They're slowly turning into hobbits, armed, angry hobbits with a penchant for crypto fraud. So that's what you got to be on the lookout here. Okay, because they're using here any amalgam necessary. Even when when you start you start taking those separate pieces out and you start looking at them and turning them around, it's like, um, let's take Ireland today. The Catholic Church has, compared to the way it was when I was a kid, the Catholic Church has almost no say anymore in Ireland. Why? Because people took apart the Catholic Church and took a look at it. When someone took a look at the tomes and saw what happened with those priests and nuns and the dead children, go read that report. Holy shit snacks. Okay. The Catholic Church committed mass murder. Okay. On top of mass rapes. Okay. And people finally woke up to it in Ireland. Atheism, I read a couple of years back, atheism is the biggest religion now, by far. People have just given up on religion. I'm so happy for that. Okay. Read, experience, understand Christianity, understand Buddhism, understand this, that, the other, understand philosophers of all different types. Okay. Just listen to poets, listen to writers, figure it out. Make a collection in your head and figure out what's right and wrong for yourself, because it should be damn clear to you. And you don't need some con artist needing 10% of your money to telling you how to live your life and what's good and bad, what's right and wrong. Okay, any normal, decent human being knows that. So yeah, look for the thing where they'll literally grab at anything and at any technique, any method, and it will go the very typical hierarchy here. It will go racism, xenophobia, poor people spending all the money, or like the Germans, the Nazis did in the 30s, the people who weren't worth feeding. I forgot the words in German. My German was never very good, even though I lived there for a few years. But yeah, basically they had a term for they're not worth feeding. Okay, we just canceled Meals on Wheels. We just slaughtered the budget for food stamps, SNAP. And I think the reason they did Meals on Wheels and SNAP, they did it out of spite because they knew that this real crazy commodity price problems we've been having since bank bailouts, exacerbated by lockdowns, climate, weather disasters, da 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 da. Yeah, we're having more volatility in commodity prices. You're seeing it with the eggs. Everybody's talking about eggs. We've seen it with fucking milk. Okay. So you have all this volatility, and they go, look what the poor people did. They wanted food. They wanted all that free money. Now, who gets the free money and doesn't complain? Senators in the U.S. Senate who own family farms in the Midwest. Like, I keep seeing this same meme go round and round and round on the internet where Jody Ernst and her family have banked about $500,000 in subsidies for their family. Okay. But a SNAP check is a bridge too far. Okay. Okay. And all this is, again, if you're old enough and you've been wonky enough for a long time, you know all the sources of all this shit. All this shit against feeding poor people or feeding the disabled seniors. This goes all back to Lee Atwater, guy you've heard me talk about before, friends of Roger Stone, friend of Karl Rove. Lee Atwater made up the canard, the campaign made up the canard of the welfare queen. Okay, they actually did find a welfare queen, but if you actually got into the story of who this woman was, who they portrayed as the welfare queen who was destroying the American economy, her fucking $285 welfare check wasn't the big crime in her life. I think black marketing babies was way higher on the scale, but you guys don't believe in protecting children and you never have. So, oh my God, it was that $285 check we got to hold her accountable for. Okay. They're just recycling old bullshit. Like, keep repeating myself. I know. Dear Leader Porn Stumper has never had an original thought in his head once in his fucking life. Okay. He is just regurgitating whatever's happened before. Okay. You can't have food stamps. Kids can't have lunch at school or breakfast at school. I watched this seminar. I think it was like, it was one of the, sit in the theater type on stage, a couple of experts talk, and there's a moderator like 92Y or 92Q, whatever it is in New York City, that style of that, right? And they had two MPHs on there, researchers. And they're like, well, yeah, if the kids aren't hungry, everything's improves, and all the bad stuff you don't want to be dealing with, like falling asleep in class or misbehaving or fights or blah, 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 all that decreases. So I'm like, okay, we give them a couple of dollars worth of food, and running the school becomes easier, and the kids are more successful. Who would want that? I would, but who doesn't want that? We're not gonna feed you. Okay, we're gonna take away your Medicare, even if you're an orphan. And a lot of people don't realize this, that Medicare and Social Security cover a lot of people who get in really, really dire straits. Okay. If you're a child and your parents suddenly die, like in a car wreck or something like that, or a plane crash, you're eligible to get full health coverage from Medicare. Like you're a senior citizen getting full coverage. That's totally available to you. And even me, as a groovy libertarian, center left libertarian, I'm like, well, that probably makes the total equation of society a little better. Why don't we do that? I mean, we spend money a lot worse places. I don't see how giving orphans healthcare policies is a bad thing. I don't see how giving a kid lunch, if parents can't afford it, what are you gonna do? Blame the kid? You rotten bastard. I mean, just blame the kid. I mean, but again, did they ever want to protect the children? No. If they want to protect the children, Mike Johnson would have not just gavelled the House out of session for 7 weeks simply to avoid talking about, never mind releasing, just talking about the documents in the file trove that's related to Epstein and all the wealthy celebrities and politicians. And I can tell you this, I don't give a flying fuck sideways who's on that list. You know those old college bonfires, like the one in the old movie with Bing Crosby, where they do the super high bonfires and they light it all up? The stuff that's pretty illegal today because those kids got killed down in Texas that one year when it collapsed. But the old monster towers they used to do, ah, fucking tie Maxwell to the bonfire, light the fire. I don't give a fuck. Okay, we're not talking about a guy that gets drunk and does a date rape. I know all rape is bad. I was a sex crimes investigator in the military and in civilian life. My rape report spent 15 years in the training book after I retired. Okay, rape is rape is rape. I get that. Don't misunderstand me here, but I'm just categorizing in a colloquial sense. He got drunk. She said no. He decided to penetrate her anyways. Okay, I've done rapes in marriage. Okay, domestic violence, and that included rapes. Okay, but it isn't the you know serial killer type approach to rape. The beatings or the torture or keeping the girl down at the bottom of the well. Silence of the Lamb style. Um, the Where's I going with that? um, I'll move on. I just lost my train of thought. Could be the vodka, could be the weed. Who knows? At least my back feels better. Um, yeah. So this whole morass that we're in is 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 bad because we're starting to look America, the United States of America, with all our faults, bruises, wrongs, errors, unforced errors, and all the things we know we should have done better. We are still fucking better than North Korea. What the fuck? But we're starting to act like them. Our government is so close to North Korea right now, it's literally starting to worry me. Okay, it isn't just this cult of personality thing like you see in Hungary. Plenty of people in Hungary just go, fuck you to Orban. They hate him. Okay, it's the same thing here. About a third of the country loves him, and everybody else is either doesn't give a shit or hates his guts. Okay, and I don't know why the don't give a shit crowds around. Okay, these people are going to harm you. I would, if you don't have a political opinion, I'd fucking grow one quickly, an informed one to boot. Okay, because if you listen to the far leftist shit, you're screwed. Okay, do you think anybody in East Germany was rich? No. Okay. Oh, and by the way, you had better outcomes across the board in West Germany. Higher pregnancy rate, higher live birth rate, let less miscarriages, better educated kids, more well-fed kids, higher standard of living, fourfold over East Germany when I lived there. Okay. Don't fucking tell me how socialist communism is going to save the world. And this is the thing that when I told you it's an amalgam, they'll do anything they have to do to grab this, the whole red hat wearer. They grab anything they can and pull it in and try to make it their own. Another anti-woke douchebag. A guy that gets so offended somebody understands that chattel slavery was wrong. And Lyndon Baines Johnson and MLK were right. Okay. Um, these ignorant bastards. Another one went to Moscow. Another one. According to two reports I read in the last few days, he's now serving on the front lines as a forced conscript. Now we got slaves as soldiers. Don't uh, don't 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 tell me how you're going to live a better life because someone sold you a fantasy on the far left. Okay, Venezuela, like a couple of years back, this is about 10 years ago, we had a startup company, a couple of friends and I, and we hired a summer intern and we paid them. We don't do the slavery thing ourselves. We had a paid summer intern. He was a robotics student, really sharp kid. He was from Venezuela. And I'm like, well, how did you make it to Santa Cruz? And he goes, have you ever fucking seen Venezuela? He goes, there's a reason I live in Santa Cruz. He goes, it's a leftist shit show. He goes, it's horrible. It's horrible. Everything about what you guys don't like or other countries don't like about the right wing, it's that way, but left wing in Venezuela. And he goes, the best thing I ever did in my life is get the hell out of that country. Born and raised there. In his mind, he had to escape. Okay. Back in the day when I was a cop, one of the guys I used to work with, he was Iranian. And yeah, luckily he and his mom got out on a plane with a French tourist visa, and then they beat feet and claimed asylum in France, and then they got to the U.S. Embassy, and we gave him a visa, and they came here. He became a naturalized citizen, so he could become a cop. And nice guy, great cop. Was our canine handler for years, real good guy. His brother got out of Iran the old-fashioned way, on horseback all the way up to Turkey, hitchhiking through Turkey, trying to find it, finally getting to Italy, Switzerland or Italy by hook or crook. To get in there and claim asylum so we can get the hell out of there and eventually make it to hopefully France or the United States. Where are they going to take this next? Because if they start looking like the worst of the worst, they probably are some of the worst of the worst. Okay. Um, and I said this, and I'll say it every time now. When you hear bullshit, call bullshit out. Okay. I have a friend, we have a rolling text thread. We keep talking about stuff we see, and we both, even with some of our mutual friends, are like, no, that's not true. Stay strong, stay informed. Get out there and protest. I just saw this kick-ass protest. This was a tiny county in Tennessee. Man, like a ton of people show up. Um, Deep red area. People are out there, and it looks like not everybody was, leftist like you probably Donald Trump pictures them. They're all Boy George or Rosie O'Donnell. No, some of these guys look like farmers. And they're just like, hey, man, we just don't like what's going on. This is crazy. Okay. No, call a wrong a wrong. Okay. You have the right to ask for asylum. That's under international law. You totally have the right to asylum claims. Okay. Being in, overstaying your visa by a few days or even a few weeks or whatever. I mean, it's worst case in most scenarios, it's a misdemeanor and it's a get out of town on the next plane. It's not throw them in a foreign prison or let's make a literal shithole gulag where the sewage is underneath the beds in Florida. Okay. Oh, and the White House is already distancing itself. The federal DOJ is already. That was all Ron DeSantis. You see, all this Ron DeSantis's money built that alligator Alcatraz. All Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis. You really got to ask him about all that Alcatraz stuff. We don't know anything about it. Just a couple of weeks ago, Kristi Noem, Ron DeSantis, dear leader porn star Humper, laughing in front of the cages at that location. Now it's all DeSantis' fault. The same way the Epstein files now are all Kash Patel's fault. That was the little blonde, crazy, whack job, the press secretary. Oh, this chick is checked out. I didn't even think she would qualify for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You just howled all the shit out of her and put her in a straitjacket. That's how nutty that girl is. Wow. She stood in the driveway. No, you have to ask Kash Patel. We said release the files. Did you? Did you? Well, it's all up to the FBI and the DOJ. I don't know why you're talking to us. I mean, we never talked about this. I don't know why we're talking about this. Okay. Point that out to people who aren't getting it yet. See what they're doing? This is like the old movie where the wife walks in and she catches her husband and his girlfriend in their bed, and they just both get up like nothing happened, get dressed, make the bed. Da, da, da. He sits down with his smoking jacket and starts reading the paper. And like, what, dear? What? You didn't see anything. No, we're watching you do this live. It's like the insurrection did happen. Why? Because we watched it live on TV. And that was another mantra you violated that day. Thin blue line. No, you were happy with killing, beating as many cops as you could, as long as you thought your cult was in charge. Now, some of the scumbags that were there that day, you really think the billionaire is going to take care of you after your little insurrection and coup? Wrong answer. And I'm really surprised it's only Nick Fuentes so far who's figured out that they're next. Because I'm sure if you watch any of these political videos, you've seen the Nick Fuentes meltdown video. Fuck you, you fat bastard. You suck. You're a lying bastard. Fuck off. That's one of his biggest supporters. Until a couple of weeks ago. Okay. That's another thing to point out. You got any red hatters? Like, I feel bad if you do. Don't get me wrong. I don't have many people even lean that direction in my friend circle. And I have a pretty good friend circle. And nobody in my family is buying this shit. I've talked about that before. Not even my Green Beret, Command Sergeant Major, hardcore motherfucker, ultra soldier father-in-law. He walked away from the Republican Party right after Trump asked the Russians to hack Hillbot's email. He was like, nope. He was in the 10th group in Bad Tolz, West Germany. Okay. And when he came to division, he was a skiff level intelligence planner for the general. Okay. So like He actually read the plans. Okay. He knows what the Russians are about. So when he asked the Russians to hack Hillbot, he was just like, no, that's not even in the realm of acceptable. It's so off the reservation. He was like, not only am I dumping you as the next presidential candidate, he dumped the entire party and became an independent strong. Okay. Two closing thoughts. Stephen Colbert getting fired. I think Jon Stewart's next. And I think anybody who doesn't toe a line that's on commercial TV, it is being manufactured into state TV. But I wouldn't worry about Colbert too much. One, he was making $15 million a year. If his accountant and his investment advisor at least has an IQ of 90, he will be a rich man, and so will his children their entire lives. Probably his grandchildren too. So he'll be fine. Okay. Should he be censored? That's where I get pissed. Okay, this is censorship. Okay, hold on a second. I gotta. This video burns a hole in my screen. Are you still watching? And then I press yes. I'm still watching YouTube, and then it wants to show me a 44-minute info commercial. So censorship of Steve Colbert is just like that's a non-starter. That's a non-starter. Okay, and it is censorship. It wasn't financially working. The biggest rated late night show with almost 10 billion YouTube views wasn't working. Is this like when you shut down grocery stores in minority neighborhoods because it wasn't profitable enough? Well, the underlings didn't make us enough money. We have to close the store. Paramount just did the let's close the grocery store routine. If you're still subscribed to Paramount Plus, shame on you. Shame on you. Okay. Eventually, we need to get into not these bullshit internet boycotts, but a real divestment from services from asshole corporations. Okay. And we also may need to start considering a general strike. Because a general strike hits them in the wallet, hits them in the investment portfolio. A riot gives them what they want. I think a general strike is maybe a video of the near future. How to do a general strike right. But Stephen Colbert, his best option. Yeah, he could join Midas. I know the Masalas brothers have already reached out to him on Blue Sky. I saw that, and I think that would be fine. I think it would be a big one for both of them. But just Colbert being Colbert, like literally just doing what I'm doing, standing in front of the camera and talking to us, I think would be a soothing and informative and well-received avenue of information. I think his voice literally cannot be shut down. They can fire everybody they want from network TV. We work at the pleasure of our employers. Okay. When I hire people in my company, they know the gig. You work here because I say so. That's it. Okay. You do a great job. Oh, I pay you very, very well. Okay. But when you don't do well and you aren't pleasing me or the client, you're not here for very much longer. That's just the reality of life. Okay. My dad had to do it in an electrical union shop. He owned the business with his business partner, and they had to tell more than one journeyman, either get your shit together or you're going back to the bench. Okay. That's how businesses works. I'm not trying to be mean to it. If you're a good employee, you're always here. You're always good. And if I provide good services, I'm always there. My longest client now is 26 years. Why? I get good services. So yeah, I don't think in the long term Colbert is going to be harmed. I don't think he's going to be censored in the real, Soviet style, East German style sense. But it is shitty. It's wrong. Paramount's off the reservation here, and this is corporatism. Oh, for everybody for the last damn time, stop with your damn means and late stage capitalism in 2025. Late stage capitalism was 1976. Since 81, we've been in corporatism, where the government decides which friends get wealthy and how the middle class and the poor get divested. That's the system you've lived in since 1981. So stop with your stupid fucking late stage capitalism in 2025 bullshit. Okay? Some of us that aren't lefties have been complaining about the same thing since the 80s. Read a book. Read a coffee table book, Archer. Um, okay, second shout out. And unfortunately I don't have a current t-shirt because I think my last t-shirt from one of the concerts I went to since faded and wore out. I'm wearing Make America Swifty again with Rick C-137. Absolute huge shout out to the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne. Metal forever. Black Sabbath is the fundamental source band of heavy metal. The whole metal scene, what it is today, and all its subgenre, is absolutely amazing. Ozzy's a legend. I'm a fan. I've seen him, I don't know, 6 times, I think, 7 times, mostly at festivals, big rock festivals in the area. Loved his music. I play his music. I played Crazy Train hundreds of times on guitar. I played War Pigs, other Black Sabbath songs. I consider Tommy Iommi and Randy Rhoads two of the best guitar players of all time. And they both play with Ozzy. So the guy from Night Ranger, Brad Gillis, that was pretty cool. He was short term after Randy died. But yeah, Ozzy, crazy as hell, a lot of personal problems, tough upbringing. I understand. Speaking of poor, he grew up poor in England. So he made it very far in life, very roller coastery, very rough road. But in the end, yeah, he did it. And he became an absolute music legend that produced some of the greatest songs of my lifetime and created a genre of music. It's not the only thing I listen to. I listen to everything. When people said, who are you influenced by when you play guitar? I'm like, anybody I like who makes noise. I'm just as big as a fan of Les Paul and Mary Ford and the San Francisco Symphony as I am to Van Halen or Nine Inch Nails, Within Temptation, or Arch Enemy. I mean, if it's good noise, it's good noise. I got into The Warning lately. I saw them on YouTube. They're great. The sisters from Mexico. Good straight up rock band. Love it. Love the Foo Fighters. Straight up rock band. But yeah, Ozzy, funny little thing about him, Ozzy wanted to become, and he said this in interviews a bunch of times, Ozzy wanted to be Paul McCartney of the Beatles. And he got to meet him for the first time in the early 2000s, and the video is pretty cool because you can tell Ozzy is actually fanboying. It's great. So we'll miss you. Today was tough for me because I'm such a fan. At least I was sad when Eddie Van Halen died. I was crushed when Neil Peart of Rush died. The person that made me the most upset when he passed away was Ray Charles, because that was my childhood. Every holiday special, Ray Charles was on the piano singing, and I always loved him. I always loved his voice. I loved it when I heard him on the radio. Always since I was a little kid, I was a fan of Ray Charles. Like, he was there. It felt like all my life. And then suddenly he was gone. Yeah, I actually cried when Ray Charles died. Okay. I hung my head today. I was sad. Big fan. Big fan of the albums. Big fan of the bands. Big fan of the accomplishment. As weird and as crazy and as many choices that I wouldn't have made. Yeah. When it's all said and done, he was one of the greatest. He was one of the greatest rock and roll performers of all time. And I'm happy because he went out with a bang. He made it to the Back to the Beginning concert where he did his last show with Black Sabbath, and then all the other people showed up, and the lineups are crazy. The video I recommend watching is Youngblood, who I didn't even know who he was until I saw him at the Black Sabbath concert, uh, with Nino Betancourt from Extreme on guitar. They do Changes from Sabbath. I think that song's Youngblood's now. The same way, like when Johnny Cash did Hurt, and Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails go, man, that's Johnny's song now. I think that's just happened with Youngblood, and Changes. So I'm glad he went out with a big bang and a big party, surrounded by friends. All the old timers were there: Jakey Lee, Zach Wild, Rudy on bass, Tommy on drums. I mean, everybody was there. OG Sabbath lineup. I mean, it's pretty cool that he made it there. He did one last great event, one last great show, went out on top. Everybody loves to see that. And for Ozzy's sake, I'm glad it happened that way. I really am. So, toast to Ozzy. Thank you for the music. Thank you for the energy. Thank you for the fun. Until next time, think about it.